Welcome to another episode of Indians, a series that seeks to find a common Indianness through its diverse people. Today, we take you to the tiny Indian state of Goa, whose unspoilt beaches and sunny skies attract tourists from around the world. Yet, ironically, many Goans themselves leave this tropical paradise in search of a living elsewhere. Miranda, the famous cartoonist, and Wendell Rodricks, the fashion designer, are both expatriate Goans who've chosen to return to their sleepy little ancestral villages in Goa. Mario's cartoon characters are very much influenced by his Goan roots, and Wendell's designs draw deeply on the Goan countryside. Indians looks at the life and works of these two eminent artists against the cultural backdrop of the land that so inspires them. Goa, the land of sun, sand and frolic. A haven that attracts tourists from across the world. Yet, ironically, its own people travel to alien shores in search of a livelihood. But who can ever discard the memories of childhood? The land beckons again and again. And the one who returns discovers that the four walls of a little village are often enough to encompass an entire world. One fine day, Miranda decided to quit the bustle of Bombay and return to his village of Lotleh in Goa, to the same sprawling, centuries-old ancestral home that he had grown up in.
It's not been easy, but I like it. Being in Bombay, there's a lot of more facilities, and I thought it would be difficult to work from here. But I find it easier to work here than in Bombay. The whole atmosphere is quiet, and it can be irritating at times when things don't work, lights go off, or telephones don't work. But otherwise, this is fine. I like it here because I grew up in Goa.
Mario João Carlos Rosario de Brito Miranda, Mario Miranda for short, is one of India's best-known cartoonists. Unlike the norm in India, Mario is essentially a non-political cartoonist, whose drawings are inspired by the people and their culture that surround him.
I didn't plan to become a cartoonist, it just happened. In my college days, I used to draw cartoons for pocket money in Bombay. And that's how it started, and I was doing my BA in Bombay, in St. Xavier's College. When I started doing these cartoons for the newspapers on the freelance basis, I was enjoying it, and in the end I was offered a job in the Times of India. That's how this whole thing started.
When Wendell Rodricks returned to Goa, there was no real reason for him to do so. Unlike Mario, there was no ancestral home here, nor had Wendell been brought up in Goa. But these were not deterrents for a man in search of his roots.
I moved to Goa it was planned. I wanted to kind of isolate myself from everything that was happening in Bombay and in a large city. I didn't want to even live in a city as beautiful as Paris, you know, because I just wanted to go within and get the designs from inside me. At times, I don't know why I cut in a different way. You know, so, like so many designers, they see the designs and they'll see the garments and say, how did you envision this thing? I don't know the answers. It fell into my head, as it were. And that's what Goa really gave me. It's that entire atmosphere for creativity, which I wanted, desperately wanted.
For Wendell Rodricks, there has been no looking back ever since. This Los Angeles and Paris-trained fashion designer has already carved a niche for himself within India's design fraternity.
I decided to move. It was at that time my friends kept saying, you know, you're committing commercial suicide by going there, because, you know, how is it going to work? You'll be forgotten and be done with, as it were. But actually the reverse happened.
1995, Dusseldorf, the largest exhibition of ready-made garments in the world, Igedo. Wendell was the first ever Indian designer invited to this fair. For centuries, this coastal land, nestling on India's west coast, has soaked up diverse foreign cultures. In India, one finds that the British have left their stamp everywhere. But here, in Goa, it is Portugal, Europe's oldest colonial civilization, that has left deep imprints. The composite heritage that the Goan people have inherited lingers in the personas of Wendell and Mario.
I started drawing when I was a kid, about 5 or 6 years old maybe. And I never studied drawing. But when my mother saw my inclination to draw, she used to provide me with these blank books. My usual victims were the priests. I used to love sketching them. There's a lot of things happening in Goa which people might not notice. Goa always had a different atmosphere from the rest of India. After all, Goa was with Portuguese for almost 500 years. The church is always the center for processions, weddings, and funerals. And, you know, they're very colorful.
It has been a long road for Mario, from Lotlin in Goa to Mumbai. He has had exhibitions across the globe. He was feted in Europe, in the United States, Australia, Japan, and China. Today the journey has come full circle, back to the same land, the same village, the same ancestral home. Every crack and crevice of this old house resonates with memories. As a small child, Mario had converted these very walls into his first canvas.
I was very fond of sketching on these walls, much to the annoyance of my grandmother. So all these walls were covered with, you know, crayon drawings. And what was supposed to be a prayer room, we used to play football inside. This house is about 300 years old, or maybe a little more. It has a lot of history. It used to be my favorite stories, which my grandfather used to tell me, was about this bandit Kustoba, who was terrorizing the entire South Goa.
Today, Kushtoba lives on in a sketch by Mario. Kushtoba, a fierce and fearless bandit, a Robin Hood of yore. The Viceroy demands Kushtoba's head. The work is entrusted to Mario's great-grandfather. Initially, an innocent man is executed by mistake. Then, a wily old man hatches a plan. A beautiful woman is sent to beguile Kushtoba. She betrays him. Kushtoba is shot dead. And finally, the rich of the region breathe easy. It's another sleepy morning in the village of Kolvali. Goan culture subscribes to the Susagada way of life, which means take it easy, relax.
Actually, I'm very much an outsider on the Susigad angle because, first of all, I was born in Bombay and I carry that work ethic with me everywhere. In fact, the staff, when they started working for me, they just couldn't believe that one would have to work so hard when I started employing people from the village. I think I had to change a lot people's perception of how to attain perfection.
A firm faith in hard work has brought Wendell to where he is today. He retails at some of the choicest fashion stores in the country, and his designs are in great demand among the glitterati of Goa. And that's not all. Today, Wendell enjoys the distinction of being known to the average Goan as well, because one of his designs is seen all over the place. It was when Wendell designed the new uniform for the Goa police that he became a household name. Wendell's couture salon in the city of Panaji bears the stamp of his persona. Through the afternoon hours, the salon stays open, even as the rest of Goa slumbers. This tradition of siesta, or a post-lunch nap, is another example of the Susagada way of life.
A história desse mês tão linda.
अच्छा चीज़ नहीं है खाने के बाद सोना आपको लेजी करता है ना you become lazy.
That Susagat, those times are gone now. Before they had that, but now every Goan have realized that.
What I enjoy most is actually doing nothing, if I could. Back to the Susagad time. And at times I feel, I could just do nothing,
Here, even if you attempt working, it's in vain. So you carry on the normal routine as a businessman, close down from 2 to 4.
If I was born in Goa, I might have been as Susagad as the rest, but I'm not.
The city of Panaji, the political and cultural capital of Goa. It is a town in which an age-old culture thrives side by side with the new forces of modernization which are at work in the region. It is also a city on which Miranda has left a permanent imprint. It was at the Mayfair restaurant in the heart of the city that Mario painted his first mural. He is possibly the first Indian cartoonist who also paints murals. Goa's Kala Academy at Panaji. designed by the eminent Goan architect Charles Correa. In the auditorium here, Mario has seated some special guests, who at a glance reveal the many faces of this land.
I had a chance to travel. I was invited to America, and that started me in my career, actually. Meeting cartoonists in America, in London. I was lucky enough to meet a person called Ronald Searle, who was one of London's best cartoonists and illustrators. And we met at a pub, actually, in Fleet Street. And yeah, I showed him my work. I said, do you think I have a chance in London? And he said, he looked at it, he said, of course you have a chance, but stop copying me or imitating my style, which I used to do. And that was my first encouragement. If I were not a cartoonist, I don't know what I would have done. But now of late, I've gone more into drawing, you know, even aspects of Goa which I want to draw. I love illustrating books. I've done a book with Manohar Malgaonkar on Goa. If you see my early work and you compare it, I enjoy experimenting.
The subjects for Mario's artistic experiments can be spotted in the bustle of traditional markets, like this one at Mapsa.
आमी शीतकडी खातां आमी नुस्तें गरोयतां आमी कोंकणी उलयतां आनी गोंया आमचो गांव आमी शीतकडी खातां आमी नुस्तें गरोयतां आमी कोंकणी उलयतां आनी गोंया आमचो गांव
I remember my friend Abu Abraham, the cartoonist from Kerala. He stayed in Goa and he said, I'm still looking for the Mario's Goa, which I cannot find. You know what I mean? In my drawings, maybe I have tried to romanticize a tavern or anything. Unfortunately, he is absolutely correct, because that's sort of Goa which is disappearing so fast that you have to look for it.
Mario's Goa is not merely fantasy. Glimpses of it are evident at Fontanhas in Panaji.
I want to do an exhibition, a series of drawings on my Goa, the Goa that I grew in, the past. A Goa which lots of people do not know that existed, but it did exist, and now it's disappearing very fast. So I personally would like to preserve it in my own way. Maybe I've been wrong, but I think that should be preserved.
Our heritage longs for its rightful place in today's world. An old mansion in Kolvale, which Wendell chose to make his own. A house whose every crack and corner reflects the old traditions that influence Wendell.
My show last year, what I did was, because it was a tribute to Goa, I took different festivals, monuments, typical Goan flowers and leaves, and I wove them all into a kind of a Goan story. I've retained Goa. It's like the land, you know, the garments are very fluid, they flow. You can almost feel the wind, you can feel the breeze. You know that these garments come from a place that's near the sea. I use the colors of the sand, the sea, the blues of the sea. I use the greens of the foliage. I use the terracotta and the laterite stone colors from this land. you live in a place like Goa, you have your land, you grow your own coconut trees, you have your chilies and tomatoes and whatever, and you just need very little space. Also, if you have staff who work the fields, then you have enough of rice to keep you going through the whole year. So I mean, you have your coconuts and you have everything to make your curry and rice. All you need to go is to stand at the river and fish.
आमी शीतकडी खातां आमी नुस्तें गरयतां आमी कोंकणी उलयतां आनी गोंया आमचो गांव आमी शीतकडी खातां आमी नुस्तें गरयतां आमी कोंकणी उलयतां आनी गोंया आमचो गांव हे कोंकणी आमची गोंयची भास तीच करुया राजभास कोंकणी आमची गोंयची भास तीच करुया राजभास
आमच्या गोंयान पाणी चांगली माल चांगली आदमी चांगली सब चांगली
गोवा तो सबको अच्छा लगता है ना किसी को भी पूछो आप जाकर मतलब किसी स्टेट में जाके पूछो कि आपने गोवा घूम के आया है सब बोलेगा कि गोवा का की बात अच्छा है
सगळे आमी एकवटान आसा कोंकणी हिंदू मुसलमान एकवटान पळय मार्केट सगळो बोल्ला हिंगा कोंकणी आसात हिंदू आसात क्रिस्तांव आसात सिकडे आसात सगळे आसात पूण आमी सगळे एकवटान आसात.
When I travel outside India and they ask me where do you come from, more often than not I'll say Goa before India, because it's that intense pride and joy to have come from such a land which is, I feel, truly blessed.
Today the winds of change blow strong in Goa. With thousands of tourists flocking to it each year, tourism is one of the most lucrative industries. But many Goans are beginning to feel that tourism may be a mixed blessing. On the one hand, it's easy money. On the other are the ill effects of tourism on the local economy, the environment, and the people. For Mario Miranda, these issues have become a cause for personal concern.
The tourism is today part of the Goa scene. But personally, I feel that it's the wrong kind of tourism. We don't attract the tourists who appreciate this heritage of Goa, besides the beaches and the beach scene and all that's there. But Goa has much more to offer than just the beaches. There's a lot of culture here, there's a lot of heritage is there. There's a lot of, both on from the Hindu side and the Christian side, temples and churches.
The Mallikarjun temple at Kanakona in southern Goa is just another example of this heritage. The temple is built in the traditional Goan Deepmal style.
I can trace down my ancestry to, we were Sardasais before we were converted, and we must have been converted in maybe 1600 or something. And we still belong to the Shantadurga temple in Goa. So there are lots of these families, Christian families, who still belong to a temple.
The faces are many, the customs diverse. But in Goa's native tongue, Konkani, they are all Goenka, the Goan people, the children of this soil. Wendell's outlook may be very modern, but it is rooted in this Goenkar identity of his, and that's what's given him his moorings.
My childhood memories of Goa are some of the most happy moments in my life, because we came here twice a year. We came in May and we came here in October. Both months are pleasant and different in their own way. In the month of April, we would have more fruits. So, you know, as children, we had a whole, we had hills where we could forage in for karvandas and jumbles and cashew nuts and stuff like that. And basically the days were very relaxed. And we would go things like, you know, for boat rides in the middle of the night with our guitars and sing. The thing that stayed with me from my childhood is the stars. I remember at night. It was as though you could reach out and touch them. I just remember lots of happiness, and I think that's why I came here, because I wanted to, they say everyone goes back to their childhood eventually, and then I really had such a good time that I decided to come back here and relive all those happy memories, because it was truly and wonderfully happy.
Firmly rooted in the land and culture that he emerged from, Mario ponders on what the future may bring. The challenge is to cherish all that is fragile and precious in the chaos of the modern, ever-changing world.
I'm glad that I am a Goan from the point of view of the Goa that I knew, the past. I remember as a kid the big functions, the banquets, where everybody came in very formal dresses, in tailcoats, and women in long dresses, and the Hindu society in the very colorful turbans. That is very vivid in my memory. Today Goa is part of India, so naturally there will be a lot of, we will lose a lot, we will gain a lot, both ways. I only hope that everything will not be diluted, that some of the heritage of the past remains and gives Goa this identity which I think it needs. Adeus coração vero, Paulo e muge, caris rei sota. Despedir o coração vero.
They say that the wheel of time is relentless, bringing change whether we like it or not. Like sand slipping between our fingers, we see our heritage trickle away from us each passing day, an inheritance that lifts us momentarily above the tedium and chaos of daily life. In Goa today, Indians like Mario and Wendell are striving to bequeath this legacy of the past to the generations yet unborn. But whether posterity will cherish this inheritance, only time can tell.
Junta,